Oh my goodness.
Would you just check out this keyboard?
Hello and welcome everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at a board that we built a few weeks ago. This one is a board that I picked up on Amazon for about 26 bucks. And this is the ILovBee i61 gaming keyboard. Now this is a 61 key keyboard, so 60%, that is wired only, but it does have the new Red Dragon style hot swap sockets that support any type of switches. So what we did with this when we built it is we did a modification to the mounting style. So you can see there are holes in the back where we removed the screws, and then we've done the O-ring isolation gasket mount to this to give it the sound that we get with those style of boards. So what I've done and what we're doing today is I've actually cleaned up that mounting a little bit, so that way we get a bit more or a bit less rigidity. In addition to less rigidity, I've also removed the branding off the front of the case as well. May take another look at this later on and maybe do a custom paint job or something to it, because that is the fun of these budget boards. But with the theme of this month and the giveaway that we're doing for the month of October, the theme is RGB. So as you can see, these are not Shinethrough keycaps. So what we need to do is we need to configure this board so that way it really blings. And I thought, what better way to do that than just go with kind of a fun but also unnecessarily ridiculous build. So what we've got on here now is we've got Pro Reds, so Gateron Pro Reds. Those are pre-lubed red Gateron switches, and they give us that deeper, smoother sound because they are already pre-lubed. So what I want to do today is I want to build this with some Gateron Cream soda rejects. So these are the prototypes. These are a switch of unknown spring weight. They are also a dual stage spring instead of a long progressive spring. And in addition to that, there are some housing differences than what will actually come in the actual final version in those samples that were sent out to reviewers. So we're gonna put these on here to have a little fun and see what we can accomplish with that and how it changes the sound signature. And then I've also got some nice Shinethrough keycaps that we'll talk about here in a moment. So what I like to do is I'm gonna go ahead and get this disassembled, and we'll break it down and I'll show you what I've done to the case. So I will see you on the other side of that. All right, here we are, and you can see we have it disassembled. We've got our plate and PCB assembly, and we've got our wonderful hot swap sockets that accept most types of switches, or any type of switch, not just the Utemo style sockets that we usually get in budget boards like this. In addition to that, I'm not sure if you can see in here, but we also get some nice plate foam. So that plate foam helps us isolate the sound into the assembly and keeps it all from bouncing back. Now I did do a tape mod to this to kind of increase the sound a little bit, because when we do add this gasket with a polycarb or ABS plastic case, you're going to get some silencing, some muting to that. I also opted to simply go with felt. I tried some different configurations last night, and while I did like the shelf liner, again, remember this was a board that we were trying to do with things around the house, I did find that it didn't really need much in terms of dampening inside the case. But let's take a look and see what we did to modify it. So as you can see here, if you compare this to what it looked like in the previous video, which I'll link up in the top up here, we've actually removed all the ribbing and the screw component, the screw parts, the sprues, I guess, if you want to call them that. So that way we have some better and more even sound distribution. But on top of that, we're also eliminating the points where it was actually touching. So we were still getting some contact points, and it was causing the PCB, once the fillers were added, to lift up a bit. So what I want to do is, we've already swapped out the Gateron Pro Reds, and what I want to do is I want to put in these Gateron Cream sodas. Now these are a switch that are in group buy right now. They are quite a bit more expensive than the Pro Reds, but they do sound quite a bit different, and they're a more premium switch. So these are 63 gram. They're very comparable to the yellow switches from Gateron. So it's a 63 gram linear. It does use a milky top, which is one of my favorite top housings. And then it has an ink bottom that is kind of sugary colored, caramel colored, if you will, in a way. And what this delivers is, depending on how you build it, it can deliver a clacky experience depending, on the configuration of the board, but it also leans toward a deeper bottom out and a more muted poppy top out. And that is because these are actually using the new molds from Gateron in their stems. So these stems are long pole stems, and they've only ever been used in the Gateron Pure Berry so far. But if you're interested in these, I'll put a link in the description so that way you can pick them up, as well as any of the other things that are used in this video. So I've always got a link to a toolkit and a link to a nice lubing kit, and I'll even post a link to this board as well if you're interested in picking it up. But let's go ahead and put in these Gateron cream sodas, and then we will reassemble the board, and we'll talk about the really nice budget keycaps that I have planned for this. So this is kind of funny putting $50 worth of switches in a $26 board, but hey, let's have a little fun. I'll see you on the other side. And there she is. How about that, man? I don't know what it is, but I think there's just something about the cream sodas. They just look gorgeous on a board. It's something about that gray milky top mixed with the cherry red stems. They're not identical. They're not nearly as bright as their standard red stems. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. These are actually quite cherry color, and it's quite beautiful, honestly. But yeah, there it is. So one of the reasons why we're doing this is because I want to make this an RGB experience. But I also want to demonstrate how these cream sodas perform in terms of RGB. And that's important because I want to make sure that you understand that you can have your cake and eat it too. So if you are the kind of person who enjoys RGB, these are not housings that are going to prevent that from being a thing. So you've got the diffusion of the top housing. There is an LED cutout. So if we look here, you've got the LED cutouts, but you're also going to get the diffusion of the top, and then the bottoms are translucent. So you are going to get a pretty nice shine through experience. So speaking of shine through, let us talk about our keycaps. Now these are Lavacaps made by LTC here. LTC is a manufacturer that also makes the Nimbleback keyboard, and they make these cool keycaps. Now they have puddings, but if you go to their puddings listing on Amazon, these are they call them OEM round. So these are, let me get rid of these so we're not getting such a glare. These are keycaps that are shine through. They have kind of a rounded top, and they're more akin to cherry than they are OEM. But the nice thing is if I take one out here and show you, it has kind of like, let me get it up a little closer for you. So it has kind of like a pudding lip around the bottom of it. It's also quite thick still, so you're still getting a nice deeper sound. Nice, relatively crisp legends. Some of the legends, with double shot, you always have that issue, but these are actually a lot better than what I've seen in some more expensive brands. So these legends are pretty crisp. Like you can see here, R is a good example. These R's and 8s and B's, there's usually some sort of like bad cut in the double shot. So these are actually quite nice, and with that pudding around the bottom, it gives you this weird, subtle, like floaty experience with the RGB. So why don't we go ahead and put these bad boys on this board, and we'll kind of show off some of the RGB modes that are available. So I will go ahead and get started with that, and we'll see you guys again on the other side. All right, here we are. Now I do want to acknowledge that these are slightly different colors, so they're more of an off-white. This is an issue that you run into with whites on a regular basis because, you know, white colors can really vary, and you know, a lot of that happens like in the PC space when you're building. The white of the graphics card won't match the white of the case, and a lot of times the white plastic front of the case won't match the white metal of the case. So, but it does still look really clean, and it'll look even nicer once we get some RGB running through it. So this is what it looks like with the keycaps on it. The legends are fairly crisp. Not fairly, they're actually quite crisp. And those keycaps I got for $14. So definitely recommend picking them up, especially if you can get them on an Amazon warehouse deal, because those are typically just where the box came open in the factory or in the warehouse, and you can get them really cheap. So what we're going to do is put the O-ring back on here, and then I want to put it together and run some power through it and cycle through some of the RGB modes for you. So again, this is an O-ring that I picked up on AliExpress. I think you got a 5-pack of them for a couple of bucks, and really nice to have around. Here's a little bit of a preview. So we definitely have a very different sound profile, but why don't we go ahead and see what the RGB looks like. So to get this back in the case, all you do is slide it in so the top is good, and then I'll push down on the front a little bit. You see you got your O-ring here, so you want to press down toward the back a little bit so that way it doesn't get pinched. And then once you got it set in there, we'll press it in until the USB lines up. And now I don't know if you can see this, but this is what we ended up with. See how much more flex there is? Now that is not present when you are actually typing on it, but what that does mean is that we get a softer typing experience. So I'll go in and then I'll press in the front here, and then we'll go around all the edges and just kind of press it into place. Now ideally you want to use, you know, no tape mod or whatever, because you'll see here we do get a little bit of lift on the keycaps here because the PCB does sit a little bit higher in the front, but that's okay. It's almost not noticeable. Now you'll see here, might be able to see it, might not, but there is a little bit of difference between the keycap color and the case. But in normal room lighting, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. So let me go ahead and get a cable, and we'll run some power through this. All right, here we go. So you're going to also see a difference in frame rate. And the reason is because I wanted to make sure that you're not seeing the refreshing lines and you can actually see how the RGB is present in this. So what I'd like to do is I want to cycle through some of the RGB modes. And let me see if I can get it just a little bit darker for you guys. There we go. So I want to cycle through it and show you guys the different modes. So let's go ahead and do that. I apologize in advance if this is triggering for you, but I want to make sure that I showcase these so they will be sped up. Feel free to click in the next chapter to see, you know, the typing, the final thoughts and typing test. Well, there it is. You know, with cameras and setting up the way I have it now, it's very difficult to really see the true vibrance of these colors. But I gotta say, this is actually pretty dang gorgeous. And just for clarification, this is the menu and this is the function on this particular board. So your control would be right there. But anyway, this is actually quite pretty. And as you can see, there's not a lot of interference with the cream soda switches. So we're getting a nice, vibrant RGB experience. And I'll try to showcase that a little bit more in the thumbnail photo. And I will post pictures on my Instagram that hopefully capture this color quite a bit better within a light box. So why don't we go ahead and jump into a sound test and see how those cream sodas sound. All right, so what are my final thoughts here? Those long pole, inky cream sodas, definitely different kind of sound. It's more of it's hard to really explain. It's less of that clacky experience and more of this kind of muted, you know, in a polycarbonate board with a steel plate, more of a muted, deepy clack. It's different. I actually have not experienced this in a build yet, so I don't really know how to describe it, but it's definitely an interesting experience. And now keep in mind that these are factory lube switches, that these are stock factory lube. They are not hand lubed or anything. So these are the prototypes that were rejected, and you know, I just wanted to kind of use them to see, you know, what we could experience. But you know, this is pretty awesome. Now, considering again that this keyboard was $26, and even paired with these Pro Reds and these keycaps, I mean, you're coming in at around $50, $60 for a very nice custom experience. I mean, we're talking totally custom. We're talking price of an RK61 and change, or maybe an RK61 Pro. You're getting really nice switches in the Gateron Pro Reds, and you're getting these LTC Lavacaps, which give you that deeper sound tone than you get with those thin PBT or ABS OEM keycaps. So yeah, this is awesome. I think this is a great buy, and I'm going to continue to play with this. And I hope that you guys will check out the previous video. I didn't get very much love, but I think it's something that you guys should share around to the budget communities if you are in them, or if anybody asks, or maybe you want to get something for the holidays. Providing these stay in stock, this is a great gift idea, because you can pick up the base keyboard and you can use the stock keycaps, and with just a little bit of love in those Pro Reds, you can give a friend or a family member a really nice sounding and feeling keyboard to use for, you know, whatever they want to use. You know, gaming, productivity, you know, providing they don't need the FRO and stuff. But either way, it's a great experience. So to kind of wrap up this video, make sure you check the description. I've got a link to a giveaway that I'm running through the end of the month. I also have a link to all of the items that were used in this build, so that way you guys can pick those up if you want. And if you could, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more great content. I'm going to have a couple more RGB builds. I'm going to be kind of doing like a Halloween themed build next week, which I think will be fun, using the T83. And then we'll go from there and figure out what the last build is. But yeah, definitely check out the description. Subscribe if you're interested in this content. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about the videos, and if you like this RGB stuff. I know that most of the community isn't all about RGB, but I just wanted to have a little fun this month and check out some budget boards and really just showcase the unicorn vomit. We'll have some higher end boards coming later, toward the later end of the year. I just received my LCK75, so I've got a bunch of switches and stuff coming in that need to be reviewed, so I'm probably going to start streaming a little bit. So again, get subscribed for more information on that. Be sure to check out my link tree in the description as well. And also, we have a public Discord available now as well. So if you'd like to give your feedback on the development of the tactile variant of the cream sodas that are called the root beer floats, be sure to join the Discord and give me your feedback on that through the root beer float channel. But I think that pretty much sums up everything. So as always, I want to thank every single one of you guys for being here. You guys are awesome. I have passed 600 followers or subscribers on YouTube, and we're well on our way to 1,000, which will help me, once we hit that 1,000 mark, will help me get some other cooler items to cover, less budget, something more mid-tier in stock, so more Akko boards, more Keychron boards, maybe some KBD stuff, KBD fan stuff. But yeah, you guys are awesome. I appreciate the support, and until next time, y'all have a good one.